Oh, are we live?
Like we are.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Certified Life Coach Institute's demo. Um, we have with us here today, in hiding, we'll introduce her in hiding first, Lisa. Oh, I think she might be muted, so of course I chose her first. Lisa, are you there?
I am. Thank you very much. Apologize that I don't have a video, but I don't have a video even when I turn it on. It just goes to a black screen. So this is who I am at the moment. I am certified life coach and I'm present and accounted for.
Thank you, Lisa. And we have also with us, I'm gonna save our facilitator for last. So we have with us Jerome.
Hello, everybody. I am a Master Certified Life Coach with CLCI. I'm also an administrator, and I also manage social media for all of our social networks.
And last but not least, we have Desi.
Hello, everyone. I am Desiree Slusher. I am a Master Certified Coach, and also I'm a lead facilitator with Certified Life Coach Institute.
And today we are going to be talking about a very divisive kind of thing that we teach in our level 1 class, but it's a very crucial part of coaching. And that is called managing your fixer. And with that, I'm going to let Desi sort of talk about what managing your fixer is, and we'll take it from there. Desi.
Yes, so being a life coach, we actually play a different role than we're used to. Say most people who become life coaches, they have always been in a space where people come to them for advice, or people come to them to solve their problems, give them the answers. And with life coaching, we come from a different perspective where we're able to support clients with powerful questioning so that they can actually intuitively pull their own answers within themselves, because essentially everybody knows how to do the how of life. And with life coaching, we're able to take our clients to being in a space of innovation and being in a space of being empowered.
Now, for me, if I'm coming to you as a coach, right, and or I'm going to be a coach, I'm a student. But people, the reason I want to do it is because I give such great advice, like, right? So how do you handle that inclination to give advice to people?
So being a life coach, one of the things is you definitely want to have a one-on-one conversation with a potential client and let them know that this is a space where you're not the mentor, you're not the consultant, you're not the therapist. You are in a space where you're not leading the client on a pathway that is pre-designed or predetermined. They're not going to get a roadmap of all these steps on what to do. They're actually going to be in a space to co-create their reality, be in a space of really choosing what they want to do for themselves, because most of us, all our lives, we've been told what to do. And a lot of times you probably weren't happy at the end. So this is a space where, as a coach, when someone is wanting to come to you for advice through the tools and the techniques that we teach through Certified Life Coach Institute, you're able to take someone who can feel disempowered and make them feel empowered by having, asking them a very powerful question and get them in a space of creative thought.
You mentioned something while you were sharing that you said we're not mentors, we're not therapists, we're not consultants. Can you briefly talk about what the difference between those things are?
So when it comes to counseling and mentoring, you would typically go to someone who's a counselor or a mentor, and they would give you all the answers to the solution. They would provide you the steps. They would tell you do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you will most likely get your end result. So you are paying for the answers. And so mentoring, counseling, they're going to give you that. And so with therapy, you go to therapy and you're in a space where you share your thought process. And with therapy, it's a space where you can explore and discover more of the why of life. Why did I go through that hardship? Why was I the one chosen to have to go through that difficult situation. And you kind of want to explore more of the past and you want more deeper answers. And a therapist would hold that space for you. As a coaching, we actually lead you towards going towards the future, and you're going to take action towards what your goal is.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So do I have to have either a life coach or a therapist? Can I have both? Do they work in conjunction?
Most definitely. As a life coach, your network is going to support you in a space of growing as a business. And I truly believe that counselors, mentors, and therapists are our power partners, and we can work in conjunction with them. And if there's a client who chooses to work with a therapist and they choose to work with you, as long as the client is in a space of moving forward and they're coming to your coaching sessions taking action towards a future goal, and they're not coming to you to work so much on the past, then it is a beautiful, harmonious relationship.
I've heard, okay, so there's a lot of coaches that work with the same therapists and the same, sort of, they create a network. Do you have any advice that, or how did you, let's say, or how would you come to work with a therapist? Do you just reach out to them, call them? I mean, what's your thoughts there?
Definitely. As a life coach, I always encourage new coaches to get involved with your community. So join Chamber of Commerce, join a networking group, and through being a part of your community, you will meet therapists, you'll meet counselors, you'll meet mentors. I always suggest meet them one-on-one, maybe get a cup of coffee with them. I know we're in COVID right now, so maybe you're reaching out to them for a Zoom call. And make introductions. Let them know who you're here to provide service for. And then you guys can actually power partner if you feel like you guys have good synergy with one another.
So, okay, like you mentioned, we're in COVID. We got to reach out to people. At this point, really, it's just sort of like we just have to reach out to them blind. But you can also start. One great way we do it, like if we're trying to get on a podcast or something like that, is you would start to listen to the podcast, follow the podcast, comment on their social media, sort of get on the radar before you make that connection if you can. And I think you could do the same, similar with therapists, or where you just sort of start to follow them and see if you're in line with whatever it is they're talking about, right? And then go from there. Big thing when it comes, since we're sort of on this topic, we coaches don't give advice, and then they don't treat things like what things don't we treat?
Well, there's definitely areas that you wouldn't treat. So if you're going to work with someone who's currently going through an addiction, that might not be a space to be coaching someone. You might want to have a power partner where they're in some sort of substance abuse counseling, or they're working with a therapist. You most likely, as a coach, you're not working someone who maybe has recently gone through a trauma of maybe physically or mentally being abused. Is just a space that's really raw in this moment. And so you would most likely want to suggest other people that would be other therapists to be able to work with them. And then maybe after a couple of months of therapy, that person would come back to you to start working on a plan that works them towards the future.
Love it. Yeah, thank you. So I want to see if we can give a tool to some folks out there. So while I'm going to do this, I'm going to come to you for a piece of advice, and then you show me how you manage that. And then we'll have Jerome, if you can think of an idea, you can do the same. And then Desi can sort of walk us through what it would look like. Show me what it would look like if you were just giving me advice, and then show me what it would look like when you manage your fixer. So we can sort of see the difference, right?
Definitely.
So and I have one as well.
Okay,
so after all of that, it is talk about that person. A lot of the times that they find value in the advice they give, and how in this new behavior they can find value that is better supportive of empowering the client versus their personal value of giving that solution. Does that make sense?
I think I think I know what you're talking about, and you're saying that if I have a lot of pride in the advice I give, and I'm going to Desi, or Desi's coming to me, by managing your fixer, you can actually get the same sort of sense of pride and value in what you're doing.
Yes.
It's just doing it so that you're empowering the client. Correct? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we'll talk about that after. I think we might be able to demonstrate it a little bit too, actually. So for me, give me advice, and I want for Jerome, manager fixer, okay? So if I came to you and I went, Desi, can I talk to you about something?
Yes, what do you want to talk about?
I'm having problems with my boyfriend. He is being, he's just being a jerk.
Mm-hmm.
How do I deal with that? Can you give me some advice? I just don't know what to do.
So what I'm hearing is he's being a jerk to you. Is that right?
Yeah, he's just being mean. He's just mean. He hasn't been hanging out, and he's not talking to me. And then when we are together, he's really mean. And it's just, I don't know what's going on. So
why don't you just block him from your phone, block him from social media, and kick him to the curb? Does that sound good? Works for me.
Oh my goodness. There you go.
Problem solved. Okay.
There's your solution.
Oh, that's funny. And then Jerome, go to Desi for the same thing.
Am I still being the fixer?
No, you're not fixing.
Oh, okay, not fixing. Okay. Now I need to put on the coach's hat.
You asked the question at first, and I was like, she's coaching. There she goes.
Okay. So, hey, Desi.
What up, Jerome?
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, except for the fact that, me and my partner, we're not getting along very well. She's been really distant. She hasn't been speaking to me much. I know it's difficult during this whole COVID situation to really stay connected, but she seems even more distant than, that would call for.
Mm-hmm. So Jerome, what I'm hearing is that you and your partner, she's feeling a little bit distant right now. Your intuition's already saying it might have a little bit to do with COVID. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. And with this distance that you're having, tell me a little bit more about how you would like it to be instead.
I'm thinking, maybe just a little bit more of a regular interaction other than, the typical good morning, hope you're doing well type text, and good night type text, and, what did you eat for lunch type text.
Mm-hmm. And you said a little bit more than the regular interaction. And is the regular interaction the texting part that you just gave me an example of?
Yeah, that would just be like the bare minimum.
Okay, beautiful. And so it seems like you might feel a bit unhappy with the bare minimum. So tell me about what it would look like, the opposite of bare minimum.
The opposite of bare minimum, and again, keeping into account just the difficulties of, getting out and doing things with COVID. Maybe, her coming visit more often, or me visiting more often, her being open to that. Maybe FaceTiming and Zoom calls, something like that would be something that, I think would make me feel a lot better. Just a little bit more of an open communication.
So what I'm hearing is possibly seeing one another, and then also being able to do more FaceTime together, whether it's Zoom. And is there any other creative ideas that you can think of that would be able to break that barrier?
Maybe it's not as creative as some would like to think, but maybe just going out and, not going out, but reaching out and just, saying, hey, I really would like to speak to you at this moment, because I think I've been kind of just assuming she would understand that I'd like to be with her rather than reaching out to her. So maybe if I put a plan in place where I'm deciding to, rather than just telekinesis my way into seeing her, maybe reaching out to her, I think that might be a good, not so creative, but maybe a concrete idea that probably would help a lot.
Awesome. And you mentioned putting a plan in place. Tell me more.
Okay, so plan. The easiest I can think of at the moment would just be to simply reach out. Like I said, I don't know if I've been necessarily doing my part as far as developing a good system of communication at the moment. So maybe reaching out and being a little open and honest, letting her know that this is something that I do genuinely care about. And this is maybe a space that I would like to explore with you a little bit more. And if you're comfortable, maybe we can set up schedules, make sure our schedules are, she's working, I'm working, making sure our schedules we've got the proper spaces to where it's not stressing her out or it's not stressing me out, and we can actually enjoy ourselves, which is what I'm looking to, move forward with. So maybe putting in a date, a couple days during the week, and a time that works best for us. So checking in with her and seeing if that works. And like I said, it's difficult to get outside. So maybe like a Zoom call at those particular moments that we do have free and available to actually see each other.
Beautiful. And so what I'm hearing is reaching out to her, being very open and honest about the way that you feel, genuinely just sharing how much you care for her, exploring more options with the two of you. So two heads make better than one. So then it becomes a collaborative project or collaborative space. And then working out your guys' schedules so that you can make this time together, thinking of dates that you guys can do in person or on Zoom calls. And by doing that, how will that make you feel?
I think I care about her a lot, so I think that'll make me feel fulfilled. She has a reservation for a large space in my life, and I would like for that reservation to be filled more often than not.
Beautiful. And on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the greatest, how confident are you to taking the first step towards your plan?
Now that I've really sat and just kind of thought about it, it's something that I can take care of, immediately. So 10 it seems like I think I just have to understand that, it's a two-way street. I think I gotta open up my side of the street a little bit more often. So I think this is something I can definitely go ahead and move forward with immediately. So 10.
Okay. Awesome. Beautiful. And do you feel complete?
Complete in the sense of ready to take on this challenge. Yes.
Okay. Beautiful. And do you feel complete with our conversation today?
Yes, I do. Okay. I do.
Beautiful. High five.
Yeah. That was so really quick, we just saw that happen. So that was a mini coaching session. What coaching tools did you use? I saw one was mirroring. I saw you mirror. I also saw you use scaling in that too, the 1 to 10. Anything, Jerome, did you notice any other coaching tools or what worked for that for you? Like, why was that so different? I mean, is that so much better than blocking, right?
Just kick them to the curb.
Well, I think really what happened was I was able to explore more than one option. And I think more importantly than that, explore options that make sense to me and not putting a block in a round peg because someone told me to do so. I've moved with comfortable ideas that were comfortable to me, things that I thought were attainable, things that someone else wouldn't necessarily really have the liberty in giving me advice on. So I think, like we mentioned, it's an empowering state, something that gives me the ability to move in a direction that I feel comfortable and I feel would be successful.
I want to be devil's advocate for a minute. So if, let's say, in my case, right, Desi, and I took her advice. Have you guys ever given advice to anybody, especially relationship advice, and had it come back and just end up really biting you in the butt at the end?
Really nasty.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think everybody's had this experience at one time or another. And why is that? Because you gave advice, right? In that moment. Um,
Where in this moment, Desi, did you have to manage your fixer?
I could have given him a lot of ideas
Mhm.
on how he could be able to create more time with his significant other, or more creative ideas on things they could do. I could have told him all kinds of fun things you could do on Zoom with someone for Zoom dates. Like I could have just thrown in all kinds of ideas to him. And so, one of the things I do want to touch on is that, especially when you're a new coach, you get really nervous and you think you need to have 20 questions ready to go. And I think, Jerome, I coached you for what, 10 minutes or less?
Less than 10 minutes.
Less and less, maybe 7 minutes. And through 7 minutes and through maybe 3 or 4 powerful questions, he was able to pull out his own solutions. And, sometimes we think as a coach, you need a full hour, or, you need to be able to have 20 amazing questions. But people typically just need space to talk out loud. And it's through that process that the innovation comes.
So when you're managing your fixer, is what you're doing is providing a sacred space for the client and not have to come up with the solutions for the client just because they presented that story when they came in. So when they presented that story, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know what this is. You felt comfortable in listening to what that client is saying.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other things that you could have done differently, like from when you weren't a coach, like with your girlfriends? I mean, I know Jerome, but what else in that scenario with Jerome did you manage? Or could you have gone off another way?
I could have asked more private questions regarding the intimacy in their relationship. I could have got really TMI and talk, if I was his sister, his girlfriend as a friend, and be like, dude, just take care of her in the bedroom and everything will be okay, like I mean, I could have gone that direction and got really personal, and that could have, like, if that was a client, they could get totally guarded. And so just being really mindful that, with our clients, we're not projecting out or projecting our beliefs or our values or the way we would solve something, and allowing them to, again, come up with their own responses.
So I think the point of view you're sharing is that you're giving space for the client to take the lead, and you're sharing the mirror back at the client on what they're saying and how they want to get there. And you're being that safe vessel for them to share with.
Yes.
I have a question. Okay, so you were just mentioning, I could have asked questions that got a lot more personal and all of that. So when we're asking questions, we say open-ended, we say ask questions, but can you ask questions in such a way that makes it feel like maybe you have an agenda or you're making them feel uncomfortable? Does that happen? And is there a way to be mindful of that, of making sure, knowing where that line is, I guess?
I could have came in and asked questions that and I referenced a new coach, but I could have asked questions. How long has this been going on? Tell me more when you started to know the shift and change. And I mean, I could have gone down that route and dived in deeper, trying to find the root of possibly why her energy shifted. But really, when we're coaching, it's solution based, right? We're getting them to a goal. We're getting to the possible action steps. And so I could have gone and asked for more details of the relationship. I just intuitively didn't feel that I needed any of that information.
That's more, I mean, I think
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did, absolutely. It starts to head down the why route at that point.
The why.
Therapist kind of a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And then, okay, so this is something I wanted to touch on too. So when we give advice, we're accepting liability essentially, right? So if things go south or don't go well, they're going to come back and be able to blame us, right? And if things go great, oh, they have to thank you. You did such a great job. And so they don't get to have that, this is me and I did it moment, right?
My win.
So I guess what I don't know where I'm going with the question wise. I'm just sharing that that's a big part of important part of this is the empowerment. That's where the empowerment leg comes in, is that then if it goes great, what do you say to your client? They come back and they thank you. Thank you so much for everything. And this, you get to turn it to them and say, no, this is you, right?
Yeah, clients definitely grow in confidence when they are making their own decision making and when they're solving like complex problems. Like they grow in their confidence, and then it also shows them that they're empowered, and it puts them in a space of just really knowing that they can do this even without you. You know, and they just needed you as that person to hold space, and to be that cheerleader and be that person to kind of, that's what leaders do. They inspire other people to be leaders, and that's what coaches are. And so they inspire them of like, no, dude, you had this all along, you know, you don't need me. And so it's just really, I think it grows a great synergy between the coach and the client.
I completely agree with you on that. I wanted to sort of, it's in the same vein. So one of the things we talk about a lot in coaching is we talk about validation, and we sort of we've danced around it in this a little bit, where you're letting them know that they are in the right or whatever, or what have you, as far as when you're sharing. But validation isn't always agreeing, right? It's just like advice. It's on the, I mean, we don't give advice, and you don't always have to agree with your client, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so when your clients are making their own powerful decision making, sometimes they will come back to the coach and say, Coach, do you think this is a good idea? And they're looking for that last minute validation to give them that go, you know, like you're doing the right thing. And as coaches in that moment, if you say yes, it's almost you signing off. And if they go do it and it doesn't work out, they come back to the coach and like, but coach, you said, yes, this was the right thing to do. And it's like, but they have to go through their own learning experience. So it's important for us to be very mindful on what we're agreeing to, because in your intuition, maybe in your intuition, you might not agree with their plan, but it's not your place to actually express that, because some of people's biggest growth spurts and their biggest teachings and learnings comes from their decision on what they want to do. And they need to find out if that was the right path or not.
Yeah, so if they're walking off a cliff, you have to let them on some level, right? They've got to learn how to.
And the only thing we're careful is as long as they don't hurt anybody or hurt themselves, right?
Lisa gives a great example of this. There was a basketball player. He's not a tall guy, and everybody told him there's no way he could ever make it in the NBA, and he ended up becoming an amazing player. And so if he listened to everybody else, right, and their advice, he never would have gotten there. And so you could be robbing your client of an opportunity that they would otherwise, you know, be able to have. And so you don't want to do that. You want to let them walk off cliffs.
One of the things I do with my own personal clients, because they do ask for validation, and in that moment you can be in a parental authority subconsciously, and in that moment I just ask them, does it make your heart sing? And if they say yes, I say beautiful. And it's not up to me. I'm not here to persuade you if this path or that path's the right one. You truly need to follow with your own heart center alignment, your own intuition, and just see what happens, you know, and letting go of control. Like, to me, that's a space of control.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I mean, that was just I was going to say, so how do you, like, is there a tool we can give them to manage that in that moment? They feel they want to give advice so bad.
You're like, oh, take the nail out of the head.
So let me share something real quick before we go there. Desi, definitely answer that question, but there's a video on YouTube. It's an old Bob Newhart, which some of you may or may not know who
Yes.
it is, and it's called Stop It.
Stop it.
So
Yes.
if you want to laugh, and what a lot of us want to do is tell that person to stop it, watch that video. It's Bob Newhart, the skit on his Stop It.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
No, thank you. So is there a tool that you use to sort of like step back in that moment? Is there something that I could do, you know, if I want to give advice so bad, to catch myself, to prevent myself, to, in lieu of that, you know, oh, wait, I'm noticing this is happening, you know, how do you manage that in those moments? You gave one tool just now. I know it's hard, it's putting you on the spot.
Yeah. You know, when that tool was when the client's looking for validation, right? They're looking for you to sign off on their homework for the week. Like, this is what I'm working on. In that moment where I see myself wanting to slip, I typically, and this is always the best one for me, is I use tell me more. Like, as soon as I feel like I want to give advice and I need to like swing it around, I'll just say, tell me a little bit more about that. and it deviates me, right? Because when you've been doing this for a while, you catch yourself and you're like mid-sentence, and then I'll just slip. So tell me a little bit more about, and I fill in the blank. So I deviate myself. In that moment where I want to give advice, I'll say, you know, let's just take a moment and think about some solutions to this, right? Or another great one, what would you tell your best friend? That's another good one.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. We're gonna get something.
What advice would you give your best friend? And then that, boom, right there lands a lot of answers for them.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's a great way to do that. I love it. Let's see, Jerome, do you have any questions for Desi? Anything on the topic?
You guys are hitting on some really good points and answered a couple questions that I did have. I'm trying to think at the moment if I have anything.
Yeah, me too. I've written all over this to find out. We've talked about, okay, so they come to you for validation. Now, if I'm a coach and my client's coming to me and I've had the exact same experience, right? Like where it's one of those moments where you're finishing, you want to finish their sentence, or you already know what they're going to say, but how do you keep from going there and just holding that in, you know, or even one step further, if I'm going to you because you had life experience. So when we market ourselves, right, as coaches, we've got to put out, well, I've done this, I went through this. I mean, a lot of times marketing swings that direction, right? So how do you walk that line between, I can't let who I am and what I've done affect your decision making, and I'm marketing myself and I've done all these amazing things, you know? So at what point, how do you manage that switch between being I've, you know, this is why I've done all these things, I'm awesome, and et cetera, and I've been through this and I survived, to this isn't about me anymore, this is about you. So how do you mitigate or manage that in a session?
You know, I think when you are zoning in on maybe specific life experiences, first thing I want to say is tell your story on your website, so that this individual, they can understand your story, problem, story, solution. You had a problem, you have a story, you found a solution, and just share that openly on your website. It will help you out a lot on people understanding, and they find that commonality in you. And so then they come to the coaching session and they're like, you know, you coach, you've been in my shoes before. How did you deal with it? And in that moment, I would say, yes, you are correct. I have been in a similar situation, but I was not in your situation. And my feelings are completely than your feelings. And so tell me more. that's the most famous one. So tell me more.
I do like the way you manage that with, you know, yes, I've been there, but you then said, okay, but this is from your perspective. I can never know exactly what you're going through. had your exact life experience, right?
Yeah.
Because even if two people are going through life doing the same thing right alongside one another, they're going to experience it differently, right?
Different perceptions. We see different perceptions. We have different beliefs. We have different values. We've been through past experiences. You can have two people watching the same exact movie and they will walk out and have totally have different takeaways. And so just because two people have been in a same life experience does not mean that it's identical at all.
So when you're coaching, it's got to be a big ego check, right? In many ways. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Coaching is not about you. It's not about how good you sound or how many tools you got in your toolbox and how crafty you can be. And it's all about them and their end goal, their result. How are they going to feel? And seeing their expression when they leave the coaching session.
And then I have one
simple.
more.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Don't complicate it with your stuff.
I completely forgot what I was going to ask you. So,
I have a question, and I think it might be a good one to wrap up. I'm just interested, as a coach, is it easier to manage a fixer with the more practice you get, or does it depend on the scenarios that kind of unravel in front of you? Is that something that that you personally have experienced as you were become an easier space for you to manage, or is it always something that's difficult and you just have to remind yourself of your practice and your training that these particular types of tools are they're best in managing that?
So in the beginning, and this was years ago when I started coaching back in 2012, back then we used to give them a lot of the answers. And so through the years, I have gotten a lot better because I don't want to be responsible for their results. I don't want to be fixing problems and needing to be the fixer. So for me, what happened is in every conversation I've had with everybody, I started using powerful questions. Tell me more. How questions? How do you see that happening for yourself? What is the worst case scenario? And through natural dialogue, and I had to challenge myself through everybody, my mom, my aunts, my friends, everybody, my neighbors. I just became an active listener. I did way less talking. And then all I did was interrupt with a powerful question or got them thinking more. And I made it a game. And every day I was just challenging myself. And so then it gradually became a natural space for me.
Do you give advice ever now, Desi?
Only when I'm in the seat of being a mentor. But when it comes to coaching, I have very strict guidelines with my clients that this is a space of you creating your life, not Desi. And you need to make sure that we're operating from a space emotionally that has you feel whole and complete.
I love it. Fantastic. So round table real quick. Lisa, do you have anything you want to add or any questions or? Okay. Jerome, do you have anything you want to add? Questions?
If you asked me something, my internet went out. I apologize.
Oh, no, I asked if you had anything you wanted to add, any questions or anything.
No, I love what you guys are sharing. It's, that coaching is very simple when you don't overthink it. It's that overthinking that gets us into trouble, and be aware of who you are in the process, which is what Desi's been speaking about. Know what your hiccups are and work on them.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you give advice, like you accidentally blah, 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 and you're coaching and you give some advice, or you reveal too much, or you inadvertently sway, try to sway somebody? How do you manage that situation? Like, how do I fix that?
So if that does happen, own it. And I will tell my client, right now I just projected out some ideas or a solution or an idea. And I just want to let you know, this doesn't have to be what you choose. And, this just came out of me intuitively. And so we can put it on the, chopping, sorry, what do I want to say? We can put this, we can go forward with it, or please, let's look at other ideas. So I just own it.
You own it.
We're having a human experience. So don't beat yourself up, but do own it. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I like it. It's good. I would tend to agree and want to do the same thing, where you just go, okay, that I shouldn't have done that. So anything, and Jerome, anything you want to add? Anything?
Just want to say thank you, Desi. And managing the fixer is something that I used to give a lot of advice, or try to at least. And I've realized outside of coaching, being able to manage your fixer is, it seems like to give the best answers. So this is just something that even outside of coaching can be beneficial. When you don't necessarily even have an answer for someone, you can get the answer if you want to help someone by using this to the people around you that you do care about, which I think is really cool.
That's a great point. We don't have to, with asking powerful questions, you don't have to have been through the same experience either and have the answer, because you're not coming up with the answers. So you're just asking the questions so that they can. So you don't have to have had this, full life experience to get the client to the answer. Yeah, good, very good point, Jerome. I like it. Desi, do you have anything else you'd like to say?
Coaching is definitely a very empowering place to be, and being able to support individuals. And so if you at all feel that you love to see people accomplish goals, accomplish dreams, you like to be the cheerleader, then I would definitely consider maybe life coaching is something for you. And so we can definitely use more life coaches in this world.
One of the things I like to say is life coaching isn't just for life coaches either. Like, these are tools that you can use for life and use in your everyday life. And you don't have to be a life coach to benefit from using powerful questions or open-ended questions or listening. Like that helps across the board, no matter what, right?
I'll jump in with that real quick. So my partner just recently took our level 1, and immediately our communication has changed. Just because he learned powerful questioning and he learned on open-ended questions. And he's like, oh, now I know where all these questions come from. And now he started using them on me. So it's a beautiful space of really being able to practice being the active listener, like just listening. And it could be used in work. It could be used in relationships. It could be used as being a coach of a basketball team. And so it's definitely a universal platform. Whether you become a life coach or not, it's definitely a space where everybody can win and take something from it.
In a real quick synopsis, what is active listening?
Active listening is being able to be with someone, being present, not being on our cell phones and multitasking. And in that moment, you're truly showing that you're actively listening. When you're able to mirror back to them, paraphrase back to them, something that they've said. So it's acknowledging that you heard them, or it's them speaking and then they've made a shift in their physiology. And you said, I just noticed that you looked really excited and then all of a sudden you got really sad. And so in that moment, you're being very active. You're being one-on-one with them, and you are able to give them, loop back to them and be present in the conversation, and using the same linguistic patterns that they're using. And so that you're active listening to someone. If they say the word universe and you say the word universe, then they feel like you're building rapport with them, and then they are able to know that this person's really giving me their attention.
So it sounds, when you're active listening, you're speaking the same language with them, right? And then, so you're listening so that you can figure out what language they speak, essentially. And then you're being genuinely curious in that moment, right? You genuinely are engaged and curious in what they are saying. And in that moment, it should be as important to you what they're saying as it is to them, right?
Yeah.
I think we've covered managing your fixer pretty well. So go out there and give advice, everybody.
Go tell everyone to kick their boyfriends to the curb.
Yeah, block
and
them.
go block them on Facebook.
Or not.
Thank you guys so much.
Not to do, right?
Do you guys want to say bye real quick, and then we'll call it a good demo today.
Bye. Thank you for being here, watching us. Stay tuned. We're got some up and coming information,
Yes.
future things. Did you want to speak about that now?
Yeah, I was gonna talk about it just before. Oh wait. Go ahead. Did you say trivia?
Me?
Oh,
I'm lost now.
I don't think anyone said
I got
trivia.
lost too.
Keep an eye out for that, guys.
Right. I'm stopping. Go.
Desi, want to say bye, and Jerome, and then I'll wrap up. Bye, everybody. So just so you know, as always, check out Certified Life Coach Institute if you are interested in learning how to manage your fixer and also how to actively listen and communicate better. We will be announcing classes, online classes coming up. We're going to have some more added to July, June, or we already did June, July, August, September. So make sure you check that out if you guys haven't already. Very soon, in the next couple of days, we'll be have some more online classes for you guys to choose from. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, leave a comment, like us, follow us, share it, all that good stuff. And have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. Have a wonderful day.